Your passions are what's going to separate you from John Doe down the street that has been on Rover for 5 years and probably has hundreds of 1 or 5 star ratings, but you're the expert, So that passion is going to show more when you're visible and you're confidently saying things.
Welcome to the Pet Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Scarlett Rockwood. As a content marketer for pet professionals, I love talking with other marketers and business owners in the pet industry and sharing their marketing advice with you. So join me for the latest episode and learn how to grow your audience, increase your revenue, and impact the lives of pets and their people. Jasmine DeCelle is a lifelong enjoyer of all things pets and all things graphic design, creating the perfect mix that you see within her brand, PetFluence. Born and raised in Central Florida, she's always had more furry friends than you can count on one hand. And she's been designing since MySpace was the hottest thing. She's run her own branding agency since 2020. Hey, Jasmine, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's no problem. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. So you are a branding expert and you have the really unique kind of story to tell about the fact that not only do you help other people build their brands, but you just built a new brand for yourself as well. And that is going to be really interesting to talk about today.
Yes, I'm excited. I get to eat my own dog food, as I like to tell my clients to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me a little bit about like your background in branding and what led you to start your branding agency.
Yeah, so it's a really interesting story. There's a lot of people that get into branding maybe around their college years, but I ended up coding back when Top 8 was kind of like a Hunger Games thing. So I accredit a lot of my interest with branding with MySpace. So I learned to code through MySpace around like when I was 12 or so. And I eventually learned to build websites through good old HTML and CSS for video game forums back in the day. Don't tell me what they are because I do not remember. But that was the start of my venture, and it's always been a hobby. And I eventually went to college for teaching. And instead of finishing that degree, I quit and started over at a design university in our local area of Lakeland. And since then, I've worked in agencies and marketing firms, and COVID kind of gave me that nudge to forcefully and tell me to go solo. And here I am almost 4 years later working with DeCelle Branding. And this year we launched PetFluence.
That is so awesome. So what made you decide to specialize that new brand specifically in the pet industry?
Well, pets have always been part of my story. I was fortunate enough to have parents in the grandma phase that allowed me to kind of have a lot of pets because why not? You can't say no to your grandkid. So pets have always been part of my journey, but some of my first clients when I launched DeCelle Branding were pet professionals. So a groomer, multiple groomers actually, and pet sitters and pet walkers. So I had like about four or so within my first 2 years of business, and I loved working with them. And they were really, really something that I connected with. Everybody loves a pet. So that was kind of easy for me to work with. And eventually I was able to connect with Amber, who helped run the FPSA down here in Florida to be a speaker. And being a speaker allowed me to connect with more pet individuals. And then it all snowballed.
That is such an awesome story. And for anyone listening who doesn't know, FPSA is the Florida Pet Services Association. Jasmine and I recently spoke at one of their conferences, and that is where we met and how we connected. And I'm so glad that we did.
Yes, it was one of those like Spider-Man memes where we both pointed at each other because we were so similar and we just kind of like connected, and we've been staying connected ever since last August. So that's amazing.
Yeah, I really love, I've just kind of recently myself been getting into more of the speaking, and I love the connection and like the people you stay in touch with in a way that really only happens at the live events. So when it comes to branding particularly, why is it important for a business in the pet industry Like, why is a brand important and why is it like, what really is it about the brand? Like, it's not just the logo, it's not just here, pick a color. What is it that makes a brand and why is it important?
So I think branding in general, right now, pet professionals have to go against a lot of competition that aren't other pet professionals. Right now, branding is crucial to kind of make you seem more professional and help you encourage trust and reliability with people that think I can just let my friend go or my friend watch my dog, or I can just go on Rover and hire the cheapest person to take care of my dog. That kind of competition is by often people that are uninformed and they don't have a lot of faith in business owners that are specialized in pet sitting or pet walking or any other kind of pet care. Branding overall lets you connect with those people and it brings your business to standing with rovers and individual caregivers or any type of pet company. And it just overall lets your message be told. There's a reason why you woke up today and you chose, I want to work with pets. There's so many corporate jobs, there's so many marketing jobs, there's so many, you can work in an office and you chose pets. So branding is crucial in the sense of being able to tell your story on why. I always circle back to why, and I'll talk about that later on, most likely.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, I feel like branding also really helps you. It sets you that step above, right? The person on Rover or the neighbor.
Yeah,
Like if you don't have a professional presence in place, then what do they know about you that does make you better than that option?
right.
Whereas if you're really set up with your branding properly, you can present yourself as a business and as a professional in a way that those other options can't do.
Yeah, it all goes back to trust. By default, a friend is a trusted ally, but are they the best at taking care of a pet or meeting the needs of this pet for whatever it may need? Veterinary offices, you're not going to ask your neighbor to do XYZ on your pet, but with the common kind of businesses with the pet walkers, the pet groomers, stuff like that, their neighbors are or their friends are the trusted sources. Rover is the cheapest option, most likely. So, one of the things that I like to always remind people is when you don't have trust and you don't have an authentic brand, people defer to price. And when price is involved, it's often they'll come back to you later going, I should have went with you.
Hmm. Yeah, especially, I always say there's three different main differentiators that you can stand out on. And if you're really good, you can stand out on two of the three. And that's quality, convenience, or price. And in the pet industry, especially pet care, like sitters and walkers, price is not where you want to be competing.
Yep. It
So what are some of the unique challenges that you faced in branding for pet businesses versus other types of businesses?
that's a really interesting question. I I think when it comes to pet professionals, there's a huge emphasis on capturing your unique story. People buy into a person before they buy into a company. um the the only outlier of that is if it's a big corporation and there is no huge network that is in the pet industry besides like a pet store that people are going to find trust in first. So when I develop brands, the number one thing that I try is to focus on the story. I really have to make sure that when I work with a pet professional, that I'm helping fit the business owner's needs, how they want to present themselves, and how they want to connect with their clients. A lot of my pet business comes from having referrals, and a lot of my pet clients have been the solo entrepreneurs. They don't know where to go. They're usually going to Fiverr or they got something off of Canva and they're ready to take this next step, but they're not quite sure how to have the personal touch to it. So that's where I come in is I help look at the whole picture. I look at their competition. I look at the people that they collaborate with, and I look at the market of where they want to be as opposed to where they are now. So the challenge becomes, I want to tell this unique story, but I got to make sure that maybe the first pet sitter in their area isn't doing what I want to to see them do. So balance, finding the balance and making sure that they're truly unique and they're really telling their story. Um, I've had a client far in the past that isn't a pet professional, but they basically told me, this isn't my morals, but I want to appear like it's my morals. And I promptly did not work with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't do that.
No, authenticity is super important, especially in the pet industry. We were talking about that before we started recording. Like it is so important to be real and be open about who you are because you are working with people's babies. Like you are going into people's homes in a lot of cases. You're being trusted with something that's really important to people on an emotional level. So being that real person and allowing that openness for that real authentic connection is so important.
Absolutely.
So I think you touched a little bit on what might be your first step. What are the key steps, in your opinion, in developing a brand?
Well, there's a lot of steps, but we'll condense it down a little. So when you want to start looking at your brand, you kind of want to develop your brand identity. And that ties into why I did not work with that client. That was not the client's identity. They wanted to appear like it was because they knew that there was money in it, but your brand identity is going to be an authentic view of your morals, your mission, your values, and what you want to ultimately convey to your potential audience and your community. I don't like saying clients of clients. I like to say that my clients need to have a community. There needs to be a vocal support of why people are supporting them. So finding your why is so important. I could be working a marketing job right now somewhere, but my why is I want the freedom to serve especially women. I want to serve women who are starting this journey themselves because I've been there. I know the importance of, finding your own tribe and finding your own truth and working towards your goals. And if you have to do it solo, it sucks. It sucks. So that's my mission and that's my value. And then tailoring that into the brand identity. What's your personality? Are you a happy-go-lucky nerd like me? Are you more serious? Are you more trustworthy? How are you talking to your clients? So the brand identity is the voice of your business, and then the visual elements as well. So the identity comes with the logos, what colors you use, what shapes you're using, and how is your online presence showing. That ties into every aspect of your business, online and off, so including your branding collateral like rack cards and business cards. So first, the brand identity. Second, the or the brand identity, and then the visual identity, and then finally you have to be consistent. So it's kind of like going to the gym. I know I'm the type of person to talk about the gym, but it's true. Like if you see results when you're consistent with everything of your branding. When you use the same logo, people are going to start recognizing that logo. When you use the same colors, people are going to know those are your colors. For example, Scarlett, let's talk about the hair. What can that's part of you. That's part of your story. And I'm sure your clients would be shocked if they saw another hair color.
Oh yeah, you're gonna laugh, but when I started my agency in 2015 which was also when I stopped my last office job. That's when I dyed my hair this color, and the reason that I did it was because I did not want them to be able to hire me again. Or
Really?
anyone really, any office job. I didn't want to be able to easily, without actually making the level of commitment of going and dyeing it again, like it was kind of an emotional step of like, I don't want to be able to get a corporate job. I want to have to make this work. So it was just kind of like a mental mindset thing for me. But it's been this way ever since. And because of that, like there are people who are like, oh, you should do blue next. You should do purple next. What other colors are you going to do? And I'm like, no, it's red. It's the brand. I literally
Right.
say it's the brand.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same with me. I get clients that send me lemons because my main business is a lemon, and they'll be at Home Goods and they'll send me like lemon plates, and they're like, I thought of you.
Mhm.
So when you have that consistency, it becomes part of you. And I think especially with pet professionals, it usually is that one person that's leading, and they're in the trenches. They're the ones that are showing up to appointments as well. They're not just sitting on a cozy desk job telling everybody else to do anything. It's very involved. Pet professionals and pet businesses are very involved. The owner isn't getting a free pass for a salary, I promise you. And the consistency helps convey your message, your morals, your colors, your logo. You are your brand. You eat your own dog food, as we mentioned earlier. And I think that there's proof that that formula kind of works. So the mission, the morals, the values, and then having that logo, a digital presence, and the collateral, that helps build the brand, in my opinion.
Yeah, so talking about the logo and the visual side of things, how do you actually approach the creative aspect of that? Like, how do you decide what the visual identity should be based on, the brand identity and the messaging?
Right. So, how I usually work is when I take clients on, I make them do homework. I'm so sorry. Maybe I can't escape my teaching degree after all. I have a intuitive form that I ask them the hard questions. People can say, "Oh, I love the color blue," but what type of blue? Why are you choosing blue? Does blue match what you want to convey? I have them fill out the form and I interpret it to the best of my abilities, and then I get started. So when someone else can do this, like if somebody wanted to take my advice and do it themselves, opening a G doc and just starting to type is so beneficial. Come up with anything that your mind comes up with and just think. If you're starting from the ground up as far as business names, we just did this. So me and my partner in crime and my husband, when we started PetFluence, we had like a 4-page G doc of names that we all came up with, and we would highlight the ones that we liked. And if we both liked it, it would be blue. If he liked it, it would be green. If I liked it, it would be pink. So just typing, get everything out of your head and have it visually in front of you and just working. Now, when I take on clients, though, when I think of their naming conventions, they're usually already taken care of. But as far as the logo design, I try to think what is standing out from their competition. I don't like doing a dog's like looking to the side if three of their competition has a dog looking to the side. They're not going to stand out. So, in terms of my involvement versus somebody starting fresh, the number one thing is to kind of just type, think of your what you're envisioning and just get everything on paper. And then as far as a logo goes, if you need visual stimulation, Pinterest, I promise, Pinterest, you will find so many people that have been where you are and hired people to take care of them. And the proof is in finished products that are inspirational. Now, don't take them, but you can take ideas from them in the sense of, I like this color purple. Let me pair it with a color I've already chosen. Things like that. So, G Docs have been crucial, and powwow sessions with Pinterest and getting some Pinterest boards. I love it.
Yeah, the inspiration boards are a thing that I've seen kind of, behind a lot of people's processes and a lot of mine as well when it comes to like when I have to do design some sort of visual element for somebody. And like just tell me what inspires you. What is it that you like? What other brands, logos, whether they're pet
Mm-hmm.
related or not, do you like? Um, and see if I can pick out the similarities there. But as you said, make them different enough that they still are unique, because it can be really tempting to just be a logo with a paw print in it. And I'm, talking to myself there because like First Social is literally just a word mark with a paw print in the O. But,
Right.
there's so many other like way more, well thought out pet logos. Some of the ones I've seen you do are great.
Oh, thank you. I think it also comes down to each client. Maybe a paw print is more than enough. maybe that paw print has like meaning, and it reaches the audience that it wants to reach. And it's not bad, it's not negative, but is it yours? If you're okay with what you have, that's perfectly fine. But one of the things that I like to always kind of examine is, I always say competition, but I don't like the word competition. You should always collaborate with your local pet professionals, because there may be days where you can't walk a certain dog and you may have to work with someone in the area that can cover for you, things like that. But looking at what people are doing in your area and seeing the good and the bad. So things that you can acknowledge and use a literacy of branding on, they're doing this great, but maybe they're not doing this. And you can see where your business could maybe fill in those gaps. Like, for example, if no one has a newsletter, why don't you start a newsletter? And that can reach people, and that can be a sales funnel for you when your competition doesn't have any sales funnel at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you're talking about those small local pet businesses, the pet sitters, the dog walkers. It's amazing how many of them have basically no marketing in place. And
Yeah.
something as simple as just literally having a website can make you stand out. So that market research of just seeing what else is out there and what you're up against is a really, really good place to start.
Yeah, it's true. I definitely agree with that. Website, I'm gonna make a statement. Websites are not Facebook profiles. They are not Rover profiles. Having your own website, it will help you rank above people that do not have those on Google. I promise you.
Yeah, and it's also something where and I say this a lot as a social media, marketer, all these different places you can build your audience, they're all great, but you don't own any of them.
Mm-hmm.
You need your central hub, your website, to be a place that where if Facebook goes down tomorrow, if Instagram goes down tomorrow, if Rover
Yep.
goes out of business, you still have a place where your business lives and where you are driving your traffic and where you are, collecting an email list because an individual email service provider might go out tomorrow, but there's dozens of them. You can send emails.
Yeah.
Like emails will not be going anywhere anytime soon. Whereas if Instagram goes down for a day, people lose their minds.
I remember a 4 hour Facebook blackout like 6 years ago, people freaking out because they couldn't check Facebook. And yeah, it happens more than you think. And if you're a bigger company, that's thousands of dollars gone, and
Yeah.
leads gone, and any messages. Like, that's why I don't like the DM me to book your appointment. What happens when it's gone or you get hacked? It's not even just a blackout. What happens if you lose your entire account? We have a mutual that lost their entire personal Facebook. Amber lost their Facebook and they had to start over, and luckily they didn't lose their business page. They had another admin that allowed their business page to stay up, but if she was the only person attached to that page, it would be gone.
Yeah.
8,000 followers would be gone.
Yeah.
So
That's what I
that's,
was about to say is even on a beyond the scale of the whole thing going down, which does happen. Instagram's gone down like twice in the past year, I think.
yeah.
For a couple hours at least. But even more so than that, what really happens is people's accounts get banned or hacked
Yep.
and that's not to say that it's not valuable to be there. Of course it is, but you want to be there in order to drive people back to a place that you own.
Exactly.
And I personally love the DM me for this and that strategy, but you're not getting like the strategy for that should be they DM you and you send them an opt-in page. You
Yep.
send them something that gets them on your email list. That's the end goal there. It's not getting them
Absolutely.
in your DMs is a step in the process. It is not the end of the road for that at all.
Absolutely. Some wise words.
All right. So, what would be your top expert tips for pet business owners that are wanting to improve or refresh their brand?
Oh, I got some tips. My number one is always, it's not to shame. It's not like, everybody starts somewhere and people may not understand it, but don't go to Fiverr for your stuff. Stop going there. There's a huge reason why it's so cheap. It's fast work, and oftentimes it's duplicated and sent to someone else. A lot of the times I've had clients come to me, I bought this on Fiverr, I only have a PNG. I spent $80 on it. and it's it's not an editable file. So a lot of the times what Fiverr designers will do is they will do tier systems. So of
Mm-hmm.
course, a cheap logo for $40 sounds so doable, but you get one color and you get a PNG on a white background. And you need so much more than that. When I design logos, I design suites. So
Mm-hmm.
you get transparency, you get alternate colors, you get alternate orientations, you get brand marks, you get fonts, you get the colors I use. And most importantly, you get the editable files. And for that price point, it's comparable to the tiers that Fiverr designers do. What Fiverr does, as I said, is tiers. So you $40, you get the PNG on a white background, but for 120, you get a transparent one. Or for 300, you get the editable file. So those, in addition to there's kind of a language barrier with
Mm-hmm.
a lot of overseas designers. They don't listen to your prompts and listen to your requests, and they give you things that you didn't even ask for. So you do have to deal with a lot to get a final result that's usable. Not to say Fiverr is always bad. It does have its purpose, but is it really conductive for you to waste time and effort when you can work with a designer who's here to do this job essentially?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, like Fiverr is very much a beginner's marketplace or a shortcut marketplace. Everyone who's there is doing one of the two things, and sometimes both. In fact, when I was first toying around with leaving the office admin career and starting my own agency, I started by starting a Fiverr account. And
Really?
back then, the most popular gig that I did is hilarious because now I can do it in 2 seconds in Canva. Remove the background from a photo. And I
Oh,
did it
I
in
remember those
Photoshop,
days.
pixel by pixel.
I remember those
And it
days.
was $5 a photo, and that was where I got started. And it is very much, it's cheap because it's people first starting out, or it's cheap because it's people taking shortcuts, or using tools that aren't necessarily bad, but that's why it's cheaper than doing it, manually.
Right.
And then the other thing is, like you said, there's the tiers. So there's um you get the editable file for 500, but if you want the, JPEG, then that's where, the entry
Right.
level is. And
Right.
most of the people who are using it, they don't understand what the difference is and why it's important that you
Yep.
need the extra steps. And that's the other problem is, like you said, they require a lot of hand holding to get quality out, or
Yep.
there are diamonds in there, but you have to go hunting for that needle in the haystack to find the people who really have no business being on Fiverr anymore and should
Yeah.
be running their own business. Um, because
Absolutely.
they're out there too, but they're diamonds in the rough.
Right. And it's just the Fiverr model gets you with the $40 a logo. If you read the text, it said starts at $40.
Hmm.
And that's where the not deception, you just gotta read, but that's where kind of like the digital literacy kind of falls in. It sucks, but I get a lot of people that pay more to have me undo things that Fiverr has
Hmm.
done.
Yeah, because
um
the biggest thing I think that is the lesson to learn there, for a pet business, is if you're going to try and DIY something, you need at the very least to have someone who's an expert in that thing consulting and strategizing with you and showing you step by step, whether it's through coaching or through a course or through one-on-one meetings. Like, you need to have somebody who knows the thing if you don't know the thing.
right.
Just as much as how I have, if I were to go out today and buy a doodle and try and bring it home and give it a haircut, I would have no clue what the heck I was doing, and I would mess it up, and then I would
You
have to take it
butcher
to a
it.
groomer. I would butcher it. And like, there are people who learn how to groom their own dogs at home, but they have to have that expert to guide them through that process, at least at
Right.
first. Um, and yeah, like, I am not a dog treat baker. I am not a vet. I am not a groomer. I am definitely not a dog trainer. Dogs do not, my dogs have never listened to me.
I got a corgi. You think my dog's gonna listen to me?
But, you know, all of those things, you have built your expertise in your area of what you do. And that's why it's worthwhile to look at whether it's hiring somebody or it's even just finding someone that you can learn from to even learn what you
Yeah,
need to look for in that
consultations.
process.
Yeah, and so many of the pet professional designers I know do consultations. So there's entry level pricing that is comparable to something you get on Fiverr. If you just need like guidance on what to do, there's consultation options available for me and for a lot of other designers that focus on pet professionals. So I mean, that was a chunky boy, but that was only my first tip. So
Oh no, there's more.
there is more, but wait. It ties into it though. We were talking about what to own, but having a brand kit is so crucial. You have your fonts, your colors, and hex codes, RGB, Pantone, anything with that, the color palettes that you request, multiple logo variants, because a square logo isn't always going to look good on a website that has a more narrow horizontal orientation. Going forward and saying having an edible file is a lifesaver. So an EPS or a .ai, those are that is the true Bible. That is everything in regards to what your branding will be. And then if you want to be fancy, having a usage guide. I really think having a usage guide helps you work with other vendors and helps you have employees who may be handling your social media, or you just be reminded on how to properly use this logo. Like imagine if Coca-Cola used blue all of a sudden. That's against their very branding. It doesn't look like them. So having a brand kit with all of those items help really kind of polish that professionalism.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I've even reached a point where for me to work with somebody as a full service client where I handle all of their marketing and all of their social media, the only way I will do it is if they have a brand style guide. If they don't have one, I will make them one. But if they like already have one, great. But you'd be surprised how many businesses have been around for so long. And I'm like, do you have, send me all the brand assets that you have and any kind of usage guides that you might have. And they're sending me like a JPEG logo
Or a
and
PDF of a
maybe,
JPEG.
yeah,
That's the
or a PDF, yeah. Or I mean, and maybe if I'm really lucky, a font.
yeah. Oh, that I mean, yeah, and it also ties into just being aware of what your brand is saying about you. So if you don't have a brand kit, I don't even want to know what your website looks like. Like, are you looking at your website? And this ties into my next tip. Are you looking at your website as the eyes of somebody new? Is it easy to navigate? Does it load quickly? Does it sound like you? Um, Having that kind of objective opinion about your website lets you kind of get the pain points of, I probably paid a lot for this website, but that was 10 years ago. Is it still up to snuff? Um, your website is a 24/7 billboard that is going to work when you're not working. Think of it like Zillow. I always am at like 4 a.m. in the morning. I just look up random houses on Zillow. If Zillow wasn't open 24/7, I wouldn't be doing nothing at 4 a.m. So I should be sleeping, but not like that. But it's gonna be one of the first impressions people on a cold basis have of you. If you rank in Google, or if you send a proposal to somebody and they've never heard of you before, besides like a conversation, that is the first impression. So making sure that your website is something you're honestly proud of. And I like to personally call it the best friend test. If you send it to your best friend and they scream about it, it passes the test. So it the website is just as important as a logo, just as important as having a consistent brand message, a workable website. Number one.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the next question that I have here is one I feel like we're circling back to something we've already covered, but I think it's really important. So, how much do you think authenticity is in pet business branding? And more importantly, how can pet business owners ensure that their brand remains authentic no matter who's managing it?
It's a very good tie back. I love it. I think it's really important for pet businesses and pet professionals just to understand that we are a service based industry. Even when we're selling goods, we're service based because we're serving pet parents. It is so crucial that there is an understanding that there's a lot of empathy with this whole shebang. We are putting heart and soul into caring for pets on any level. If you're a pet baker, if you make things for pets, it's for their care. You don't have to physically be a pet sitter, but you're caring for a pet one way or another. Even going as grim as to say somebody that does euthanasia for pets or somebody that works with like cremation services and stuff like that, you're putting care into someone's baby. It is crucial that empathy is at the forefront. Understanding the concerns, understanding people's pain points, that authenticity helps you translate your message in every aspect. You have to have grace and understanding, and you most importantly have to understand that each client that you have in your community or potential client, they're going to have a different story. Just like you have a different story from your competition. They they are not always going to be as easy to work with or easy to sell to. And authenticity helps you speak to those pain points. So maybe someone can't afford your services, but they really like what you stand for. How can you authentically help nudge them in the way that they're going to maybe invest in your services or goods or ask you for more information when they are available? Authenticity ties really closely to allyship. My number one goal in my day job as DeCelle branding or day job as PetFluence is I want to be your ally. Even if you don't hire me, if you ask me questions, I'm going to answer because I want you to be informed and I want you to know that my authenticity is I'm here to serve. And that is pretty much a shared trait between everybody. You can be the grumpiest pet sitter in the world, but you could work an office job and probably make twice as much. But you still choose pets and you still choose to help these animals.
Yeah, I think that's something that is part of why we're also attracted to the pet industry. Like, there's that
Yes.
obvious, like, working with pets, but one thing that I know is true for me, and I've heard a lot of other pet business owners say, is one of the other reasons they really care about working the pet industry and love what they do is because pet people are their people, and working with pet people is just as rewarding a lot of times as working with pets.
Right. Yeah, you nailed it right on the head. It doesn't matter what walk of life anyone comes through because right now, not to get political, but we live in a very diverse world, different morals, different religions, different everything. But we can all understand the importance of making sure a pet is taken care of on any level. Health, just general care, or final stages of life, or just in general keeping them happy during their life. Every pet parent that is hiring a pet professional, they care. That is something that they all have in common is they care about the well-being of their pet. And pet professionals can tie into that by being that trustworthy ally with their authentic self.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that way that you're putting that of making like being your client or customer's ally in the care of their pet. So, looking to the future now, what trends do you see emerging in pet business branding in the near future? Let's say, what are your predictions for 2024?
Well, I don't know if it's much of a prediction. It's more of an expectation. But I hate to say it because I need to start doing it myself. I even put a video out and then I stopped. But video marketing, you gotta do it to some degree. Video is the future. TikTok, Reels, there's no getting away from it. Like even Twitch for video games, you can't get away from it. Video is crucial, and you can say more in video than you can writing a million thousand blog posts because you're still connecting a face or you're connecting a visual to your message. There's an old saying that goes, the easiest people to sell to are parents and pet owners, because who doesn't want to use the cute faces of babies and puppies on their graphics or on their newsletter header or on the video. It's an easy sell. It's just, you, as pet professionals, we gotta find time to do it. You are an expert at making time. I see all of your videos on how you're able to kind of connect the dots on, is this worth sharing or is this informative? I think you of all people know the importance of marketing with video. Like, I admire you for that.
Yeah, it's definitely something even I am like struggling to keep up with, but it's something that I am working to get better at because the trend is there for social media marketing as well. Like, especially, my main platform specialization is Instagram, and there is just no denying the fact that literally any content that you create as a reel versus the exact same topic and caption and everything created as a image post, the reel is gonna perform and reach more people, and
Right.
it just is. That's just the way that it works, the way people's brains are wired right now, and the way the algorithm is, the type of content the algorithm's rewarding. But it's also what people are wanting to consume. It's becoming so easy to create that video content, and there's becoming so much of it out there that that's what people want to see. Just like when TV was invented, people started consuming a lot more video versus
Right.
reading books and newspapers as often, because it's just a more engaging way for a lot of people to consume that content.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, that's definitely, I agree. That is a really, really on
I
point.
think every other trend is it nothing compares to that. Video is huge. There's no getting around it. And if you can partner it with, my number one thing that I want to focus on is strategic content, not
Mhm.
just not just here's me walking. No, we need to know, why are you walking? Tell the story. Are you walking a dog? What's the dog's name? How long have you had them? Strategic content goes way further than you trying to just take a picture and make a collage and make it have music on it. um Video is just, you're not going to be able to escape it soon.
Oh yeah, yeah, I agree. Strategic content is, I don't know if I've said this before, or if I literally just popped into my head now, but I feel like the strategy of your content is like the contents of a package, right? The way you deliver your content, whether it's social media, email, video, photo, that's just the box, right? The strategy, the message behind your content is what's actually in there. So like that's what you need people to get. The
Right.
box is just there to get it there. It's just there to get it in front of the right people. And yeah, video is one of the reasons it's so important. There's something called the parasocial relationship, which anyone who has followed me long enough has heard me talk about it before. But basically, the more we see someone on video, the more we hear their voice. Affects sort of the more photos we see of them, but to a much lesser degree. The more that we interact with a video, um, the more our brain actually believes that we know this person.
Mm-hmm.
And if we watch enough of a person on a television show, this is why people go crazy over celebrities, because the more you
Yes.
you see a person on video and you listen to them talk, your brain will actually start to store them in the same place and store memories of them in the same place that they do friends and family.
Yep.
So
And this
because of
isn't
that,
new. This
yeah.
isn't new. My great grandma swore up and down that Chuck Norris with her husband. So it is a proven fact that the visibility matters, and video marketing is the easiest way to do that, in my opinion.
Yeah, it definitely is the way that gets the most results. And, as a trend, even pairing it with the other trends that are happening now, I think more than anything else, it's the one that pairs with just about everything. There's AI is coming out. All right, well, there's AI that helps you make videos faster.
Right.
Caring more about standing out and telling a story is becoming more of a known trend. And doing that through video is more powerful than doing it through any other message. It's like
Right.
video, it is the thing behind even all
Yep.
the other trends that are going on today.
We're getting away from TikTok dances. We're getting away from things that people think they had to do to be on video. And now this strategy is coming into play more and more.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. The more value, even if it's, and when I say value, I just mean the thing people are wanting. It doesn't have to be earth-shattering. It doesn't have to be educational. It doesn't have to be life-changing. One of my favorite content creators that I will watch his reels over and over again for hours. His name is Sydney, and I can't remember his account name, but his every single one of his short form videos starts with, here's something I wish I knew before I was in my 30s. And it's just very small things that, like, it's like, you mean seat belts in cars are height adjustable? Like, very
Yeah,
small discoveries that, like,
right.
feel life changing or feel like hacks. And they're all just very entertaining. And some of them I actually like, oh, I didn't actually know that. And now I'm mad. I didn't know it before I was in my 30s. And
What's
then,
all those I mean, I'm a blog girl. I love writing. So, everything has a purpose. But one of the big things with blogging and in that sphere is lists help. Lists, having 7 things I wish I learned when before I was 30. Well, guess what? If you break all 7 of those things down, that's the short form that you're looking for
yeah,
right
7
there.
videos. Yep.
Yeah. So, the strategy behind content is to, as my favorite word, is to repurpose it. It is not going to die when you hit blog. You can reuse everything in your blog post and everything in this podcast. We're going to reuse it, baby. Like that's just how it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another strength of video is it is the format to me that's the most unidirectional for repurposing content, which is important for branding and consistency and saving you time in creating your marketing is, you know, if you write a blog post and you are going to go create 7 short form videos, well, you now have to go create 7 videos and you have a script and that's great. But what if you made the video first?
Right.
And now you can just get the transcript and write the blog post from the transcript. And you can cut up the longer video into the 7 short form video.
Yep.
This YouTube, like this podcast is on YouTube as a video, and it also gets put out as an audio only podcast. And it also is going to be put out as small clips from whatever sound bites. And it's also going to be a blog post on my website where I store the show notes. Repurposing is huge for any business that just needs to maximize their time that they're putting into their content and having it still be valuable. And video is, to me, the top level of that repurposing that is the most unidirectional and not having to
Right.
go make more content to then repurpose.
No, absolutely. And all you got to do is think of the spider web. You just start with one central point and see how far can it go? How far can you spread this out? Because I promise one of the big things I get from my clients is I don't want to seem too annoying. I promise you're not too annoying by talking about things you're passionate about. We just talked about this before we even hit go live. So your passions are what's going to separate you from John Doe down the street that has been on Rover for 5 years and probably has hundreds of 1 or 5 star ratings, but you're the expert. So that passion is going to show more when you're visible and you're confidently saying things.
Yeah, absolutely. And people, like I said, we talked about that personal connection, that authenticity being so important in the pet industry. People are going to connect with you a lot faster if they see your face, if they're talking to you, if they're hearing you talk on video, they're going to feel like they know you and they're going to want you to take care of their dog a lot faster if they feel like they
Yep,
know you.
absolutely.
So, what is next for PetFluence? And are there any exciting projects in the works or planned out for the next year?
So what's next? Workshop dates. So Zoom-based workshop dates where we will be able to talk about a specific topic. We're kind of bouncing around blogging and brand voice as our first two. Not 100% sure, but I like, as I mentioned, I'm really really passionate about blogging, and I think that there's a lot of misconceptions with blogging where people think, oh no, I can't do it, I don't have time, and that's not always the case. So those workshops are probably going to be free just to kind of get you to know me and know about my passions. So I will be announcing those on all my social media platforms.
And where can people find you? What are those platforms?
So right now we're on Instagram and Facebook, and you can look up PetFluence FL, and that is on both of them, I believe. But I have a nice little high five paw five as my icon. So if you get lost, that's where I'm at.
Awesome. Okay, we have kind of gone through a lot of really, really juicy things today. And I am really, really excited to I'm actually really interested in going through and editing this and listening to it all over again and taking notes because you have shared a lot of really great tips. Are there any final thoughts or advice for pet business owners out there that are listening today?
I think the only really big advice that I have is to kind of give yourself grace. I don't know if this is like a common thing with women-owned businesses, but when I do consultations, I've gotten a lot of, I know this is so bad. I should have been doing this a million years ago. Oh, you're gonna laugh at me. My logo's ugly. Um, from a personal standpoint, as you know, as a woman that has run my business for going on 40 years now, allow yourself to fail just so you can know what it's like to succeed. It has been kind of heartbreaking to see people like so hard on themselves. We work with such a fun topic with pets, the dogs, the cats, the birds, the reptiles, everything. That you got to save some of that happiness for you and be proud that you are taking steps to fix things that you may not be proud of, or just know where you came from. I look back on my first branding that I did for DeCelle branding, and I'm like, ew, I did half a year with this. You gotta be a little bit more graceful for yourself and hope that things will work out. So that's, I don't know, that's just something I've noticed.
I think that is really, really great advice. And I think that's great advice, not just for women, anyone who is feeling that way in their business right now. I've actually personally noticed it across, regardless of gender, mostly in the millennials that I work with. I feel like it's kind of
Yeah.
part of our culture to like be self-deprecating.
You're not wrong.
So yeah, I agree. Definitely give yourself grace. And I'm going to be taking that advice too.
I need to listen. I talk about eating your own dog food. That's what I need to eat because, yeah, I need to give myself some grace too.
Alrighty. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Jasmine. It has been wonderful talking to you. And anybody else who would like to learn more or connect with her on any of those channels, all of those links will be in the show notes. Thanks so much for joining us, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.
What was your favorite thing about this episode? Hit me up on Instagram at Scarlett Rockwood to tell me about it or ask any questions that you have about marketing your own pet business. If you know other pet professionals who would love this podcast, go ahead and screenshot this episode and share it to your Instagram stories. Be sure to tag me when you do, because seeing who's listening and hearing your feedback is 100% what motivates me to keep doing what I do. You can also join the Facebook group to connect with other pet industry professionals like you. If you'd like to follow up on any of the resources or links mentioned in this episode, you can find them in the show notes. Don't forget to be awesome, and I'll see you in the next episode.